Everywhere, GBS.
World leaders must choose their words wisely because they don't just speak for themselves. They speak for a nation. So the last thing they want is a gaffe or an insult or worse, even both. But Joe Biden did not get the memo. Last week, he visited the War Memorial in Pennsylvania. It is dedicated to soldiers of the World War II, and among them were Biden's uncle, Ambrose J. Finnegan. He died fighting in the Pacific region. As for how he died, we will let his nephew, President Joe Biden, tell the story. Good afternoon. This is the ambassador. With me, your ambassador, Jennifer Macau. Let's hear President Joe Biden comments on the death of Uncle Ambrose J. Finnegan.
He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. He got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real.
Took a wild turn, didn't it? Biden says his uncle was flying over the Pacific. His plane crashed in the Papua New Guinea, and then cannibals ate him. You know what this sounds like? A scary story of your parents that discuss at home. A story you decide it is true, then you narrate 70 years later as a president. But why cannibals? Why not legendary dog Japanese fighters? Because Papua New Guinea did have cannibals. It is true. Some communities practice it not because they did not have food, but because it was a tradition. They would cannibalize dead relatives out of respect. Of course, that does not happen today. But let's come back to Uncle Finnegan. If cannibals did not get him, how did he die? Well, here is what the U.S. government says. In 1944, Uncle Finnegan's plane was flying over Pacific, but at a low altitude. Both engines failed, so the plane's nose hit water. 3 men did not survive the crash, and among them was Biden's uncle. His body was never recovered from the area, but the statement did not mention cannibalism. So Biden was wrong about 2 things. 1, the plane was not shot down. It had engine trouble, and his uncle was not cannibalized. His body just went missing. So Biden's story was all baked up. And not for the first time. The U.S. president seems to get confused a lot. He's getting world leaders' names wrong. He's getting world leaders wrong. He's getting cities wrong, and he's getting the dates wrong. Let's listen in.
And I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, you know, how long are you back for? All right, God save the Queen, man. Harder than getting a ticket to the Renaissance tour or Britney's tour. Elect me. I'm in the 20th century, 21st century.
I know what you're thinking. Nobody is perfect. Everyone mixes names in some places once in a while. Well, there are 2 major problems here. 1, Biden is not just anybody. He is the president of the United States, a country that has deeply involved in 2 parapets. So he cannot afford this. And secondly, is not just once in a while. Biden keeps making such mistakes, and some of them could have political consequences. Just consider the latest one in Papua New Guinea. Is a country in the Pacific, and it has become a key strategic battleground. China is trying to make inroads there, so Biden must be on top of his game. He cannot afford to insult or offend the government, and he certainly cannot accuse their ancestors of eating his uncle. It is also a perfect ammunition for his opponents. Let's look at the recent poll found that is 60% Americans doubt Biden's mental capacity. A recent investigation found his memory to be hazy and poor. So the concerns are valid. Now, Democrats will say Donald Trump is equally bad. Trump will most likely challenge Biden for the White House, and his gaps are the world famous, but Biden is the incumbent. He is also 3.5 years older than Donald Trump, so the responsibility to stay in honors is on Joe Biden. He must prove he is fit to serve all. We've all always heard about elections is all about numbers. Well, this time, that number could be age. Kenya Meteorological Department forecast more heavy rainfall this week. The number of people impacted by the above average March to May rains continues to rise, with the residents of Machakos County who was stranded by the floods. With the residents of Machakos County who was stranded by the floods, water that destroyed their homes and farms. The Kenya Red Cross team has responded to a distress call on Monday evening to save people marooned by water and trapped in their houses. It is estimated that most of the houses have lost their homes and over 1,000 people destroyed crops and damaged infrastructure, school and homes, and small businesses. The United Nations stated that since mid-March, at least 35 people had died in flooding events, with the government-led relief efforts in the ongoing across all countries, especially with the support from the humanitarian partners. Let's listen in.
As you see behind me, there are so many houses marooned by waters and people are trapped inside. So we came with a trained team in Aqua Search and Rescue with a rubber boat with the engine to negotiate those obstacle areas and try to extract the people trapped inside.
The floods have ruined our farms. I farmed about 3 acres of land. All my crops have been destroyed. I will not harvest anything. Other people's farms have also been ruined. We're hungry. The government should help us.
Despite a groundbreaking 2017 law banning single-use plastic bags for household and commercial use, Kenya has not quite won its battle with the plastic pollution. Its capital, Nairobi, for example, generates about 2,400 tons of solid waste every day, of which a fifth is plastic. The National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, announced a ban on the use of the plastic bags from the collection of organic waste, like leftover foods, stating that 90 days after the 8th April, when the notice was first issued, plastic bags would not be allowed at the markets. The environmental agency has all directed the county governments and the private waste services to provide their clients with the bags, as analysts stated that the move was likely to increase the cost of garbage collection, particularly for the households. In a recent development, a South African court ruled in favor of the Umkhonto weSizwe, that is the MK party, backed by former President Jacob Zuma, granting him the right to use his trademark name and logo in the upcoming general elections scheduled for May 29. This decision marked another setback for the ruling, that is the African National Congress, the ANC, in the ongoing legal battles with the Zuma and the newly formed political entity. The court ruling was in favor of Zuma's party, now adds another complexity to the South Africa political dynamics, setting the stage for a closely watched electoral contest in the months ahead. Davis Karani with more report on the same.
The Durban High Court decision comes amidst a series of court disputes between the former South African President Jacob Zuma and his former political party, ANC. Rejecting the ANC's challenge, the court authority dismissed the application against the use of MK's party's name and trademark, stating that the application is dismissed with cause. Jacob Zuma, who served as the South African's president from 2009 to 2018 before facing allegations of corruption leading to his removal, has since distanced himself from the ANC. He now leads the Umkhonto weSizwe Party, also known as the MK Party. Zuma's enduring popularity, particularly in his home province of KwaZulu-Natal, positions the MK as a significant contender in the upcoming elections. However, the name of Zuma's party raises historical connotations as it shares its name with the former armed wing of the ANC, led by Nelson Mandela during the apartheid era. The original MK was dissolved with the end of apartheid and dismantling of racial segregation policies. The ANC has vehemently opposed Zuma's party using the MK name, alleging the intellectual property theft. The legal challenge questioned the MK party's right to utilize the name and trademark associated with the now defunct organization. With South Africa's elections scheduled for 29th May, the political landscape is poised for intense competition. The ANC, once synonymous with anti-apartheid struggles under Nelson Mandela's leadership, faces mounting pressure to retain power amid declining support in recent elections. The country grapples with challenges including stagnant economic growth, widespread poverty among its black population, and unemployment rate exceeding 32%.
Moving on to the UK asylum seekers case, the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's latest effort to send some migrants to Rwanda finally won approval from parliamentary early Tuesday hours after he pledged deportation flights would begin in July. In late session, the unelected House of Lords relented, paving the way for the bill's passage. This comes after a week of deadlock and heated exchanges between the two chambers. After facing significant opposition, the UK Parliament finally approved Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's contentious proposal to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. The bill, aimed at curbing the influx of the migrants crossing the English Channel, was met with fierce resistance from the human rights groups and the lawmakers alike.
My Lords, Rwanda is a safe country that has proven time and again its ability to offer asylum seekers a safe haven and a chance to build a new life. Rwanda has a strong history of providing protection to those that need it and currently hosts over 135,000 refugees and asylum seekers who have found safety and sanctuary there. There are binding provisions in the treaty which place obligations on the government of Rwanda to provide for those relocated under the partnership. And my Lords, this is long overdue, but I would also like to put on record my thanks to the officials in the government of Rwanda for all their efforts in delivering this partnership. I beg to move.
At the scene, the sailors found several people in the boat, unconscious and in great difficulty.
6
people were immediately taken aboard the patrol boat for initial treatment before being taken to the beach as quickly as possible to be rescued by the fire brigade and the ambulance service.
In a late-night session, the unelected House of Lords relented, paving the way for the bill's passage. This comes after weeks of a deadlock and heated exchanges between the two chambers.
And keep the boats coming. But enough is enough. No more prevarication, no more delay. Parliament will sit there tonight and vote no matter how late it goes. No ifs, no buts. These flights are going to Rwanda.
This move aligns with Sunak's campaign promise to curb illegal migration, often facilitated by the perilous crossings of the English Channel.
We are going to deliver this indispensable deterrent so that we finally break the business model of the criminal gangs and save lives. Starting from the moment that the bill passes, we will begin the process of removing those identified for the first flight. We have prepared for this moment.
I'm very stressed. I don't know what to do. All I can think about is this letter and Rwanda.
Before I came here, he said that, they sent me in Rwanda. I never come here.
Earlier on Tuesday, Prime Minister Sunak made a rare morning appearance, urging the Lords to cease their opposition, same time promising a swift action. He reiterated that the government stance that deportation to Rwanda would serve as a deterrent to illegal immigration. And that international news brings us to our first break. There is more coming up from you. Next, we'll talk about the U.S., who recently passed a $95 billion in aid for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. And also we talk about the Togo campaigns, as women candidates this time round also drive for position, and the Black Chicago migrant crisis. We have this and more lined up for you shortly after the break. May you stay tuned with us.
So through the four gospel books, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, John, we can know the heart of Jesus in depth.
우리가 느끼는 그 예수님을 성경을 느낄 수 있어서 너무 감사합니다.
And the Jesus that we can feel him through the scriptures, and I'm very thankful about that. Jesus Christ came to this earth for our sins. He carried our sins.
십자가에 못 박혀 죽어 죄의 형벌을 당하셨고,
and he was crucified, and he received the punishment for sins.
무덤에 들어가셨다가,
and he was put into the tomb.
사흘 만에 부활하셨습니다.
and resurrected in 3 days.
이것이 우리가 말하는 복음입니다.
This is the gospel that we speak.
예수님께 우리 죄를 위해 죽으신 이야기.
About how Jesus died for our sins. The purpose of Jesus being crucified.
우리 죄를 담당하기 위하여 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으셨습니다.
He was crucified to pay for our sins.
예수님 십자가에 못 박혀 죽으심으로 우리 죄가 분명히 씻어졌는데.
And through Jesus being crucified, clearly our sins have been washed clean.
참 안타깝게도 많은 사람은 여전히 죄인이라고 말합니다.
However, unfortunately, many people still say that they are sinners.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. You are still watching The Ambassador GBS Global, and we are glad to have you join us today. Now, as we continue, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky asked the NATO to show an equal attitude to all partners on Friday, amidst the NATO countries showing the efficiency of their air shield, successfully destroying Iran's drones and rockets in the Middle East on April 13th. The U.S. House of Representatives officially passed a $95 billion aid, a package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan on Saturday, as Democrats and the Republicans banded together after months of controversies. Let's watch. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken denied U.S. involvement in the alleged Israel attacks on Iran during a press conference, following a group of G7 foreign ministers meeting in Capri on Friday. According to media reports, Iranian officials claimed there were no plans to respond, adding that the foreign source had not been confirmed and the country had not received any external attack, while Israel did not comment on the issue.
First, the G7 condemned the unprecedented Iranian attack on Israel. Unprecedented in scope and scale. Scope because it was a direct attack on Israel from Iran. Scale because it involved more than 300 munitions, including ballistic missiles. We're committed to Israel's security. We're also committed to de-escalating, to trying to bring this tension to a close.
Friday reports came as Israel suggested it could retaliate after Tehran launched hundreds of drones and missiles at the country last weekend. That action itself came as a response to the alleged Israeli airstrike on Iranian consulate in Damascus on April 1st, which Israel has not accepted responsibility for.
Even as we've been dealing with the conflict in the Middle East and, again, the unprecedented attack by Iran on Israel, we've remained intensely focused on Gaza. We urge the rapid implementation of Israel's humanitarian assistance commitments. More aid, more crossings, better deconfliction, better distribution of the assistance to all who need it. But as I said, we're committed to working to achieve a Palestinian state with the necessary guarantees for Israel's security. And we've been working on that, including as part of the potential normalization process between Israel and Saudi Arabia, something that we've intensely engaged on over the last several months and weeks.
Israel's Western allies repeatedly warned against further strikes, although Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made it clear that they will make their own decisions. Blinken also defended the U.S. veto on full UN membership for Palestine at the UN Security Council, stating that this is not the time to grant the territories the state of recognition.
Also, take a look at the G7 statement today, which shows unity on this question. It says that there's going to be a proper time, a rightful time for recognition. This is not that time. We need to do the diplomacy. We need to do the hard work to bring parties together, to bring the region together, and to demonstrate that there's a much better future that awaits everyone if they follow this path.
Well, we hope that package works for Ukraine that has been asking for equal treatment with Israel. Now, as we move on to the Togo country that is having an upcoming elections, as Togo prepares for the legislative and the regional elections on April 29, 2024, a significant number of women are in the electoral race this time, defying the traditional norms and the expectations. Through 2,348 validated candidacies for the legislative elections and 113 seats for the grabs, a sum of 593 women are in the running for the parliament, while 438 women are running for the regional elections. According to the figures obtained from the Independent National Electoral Commission, here is more on the same.
As Togo prepares for crucial legislative and regional elections, a notable shift is underway, with 2,348 validated candidacies for the legislative polls and 113 seats for grabs. A significant number of women are stepping into the electoral arena. According to figures obtained from the Independent National Electoral Commission, 593 women are vying for seats in parliament, while 438 women are contesting in the regional election. Among these bold contendants are individuals who aspire to bring fresh perspectives and foster more balanced representation in politics. Notably, Togo's current Prime Minister, Victor Dogbe, who is also a candidate of the UNIR party, is actively engaging with voters. During a campaign tour in the town of Vogan, Dogbe emphasized the progress made under her leadership and stressed the importance of continuity.
As Chicago grapples with a surge in migrant arrivals, tensions have been mounting among local residents who felt neglected within the city's rapid response to the crisis. Many long-term residents voiced their concerns about overlooking the existing issues like homelessness, crime, and the lack of essential services in underserved neighborhoods. Chicago has allocated over $300 million to accommodate the influx of more than 38,000 migrants, sparking disapproval from community leaders about the misplaced and the priorities in the nation. Here are the details. And that news brings us to the end of our Ambassador GBS Global News. It's been a pleasure having you on board, joining us to the end. And just to do a recap for you today, we've talked about the Kenya's Meteorological Department forecasts, which foretold of more heavy rainfalls this week, with already a number of people being impacted by the above average March to May rains. And as they continue to rise, we are talking of destroyed homes and farms, not just in Kenya, but in East Africa as a whole. Maybe it is time that Africa took initiative to curb and find a permanent solution to these predictable disasters and the recurrences once and for all. will keep you updated on these environmental developments. And finally, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's efforts seem to pay. Despite many controversies, the British Prime Minister's latest efforts to send the asylum migrants to Rwanda finally won. This was through an approval passed from the parliament that was on early Tuesday, coming after weeks of deadlock and heated exchanges between chambers and civilians. Even now, there are some concerns arising. But the major question is it finally solved, or is there more to come? We'll keep you updated as you keep it at the ambassador. And also the US, the House of Representatives officially, they passed a $95 billion aid, a package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan on Saturday, within Democrats and the Republicans banded after controversies. Ukraine President Zelensky had been recently in a statement criticizing that Ukraine needed equal treatment with Israel. Will it be possible? Keep it locked at the ambassador as we keep you updated with the latest developments. I've been your ambassador, Jennifer Macau, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Ambassador GBS Global. That is tomorrow, same time, same place, from Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. And may you all have a superb and the most beautiful and a wonderful afternoon.
Everywhere. GBS.